And a very, very, very good evening to everybody, and welcome to Camelot Castle TV Network, one of the few surviving freedom-fighting, free speech operations on social media at the moment. Of course, many millions of voices have been crushed, and many thousands of accounts have been closed. It is not just the President of the United States that has been silenced, but many other people have been silenced, and this, of course, is an assault on free speech. This is an assault on really life itself. And this weekend is going to be very interesting because Camelot Castle and indeed our own family has been targeted by the mainstream media, and this is somewhat to be expected. The good news is that I have not lost my dreadful internet habit of seeing something online and ordering it, thinking that when you see it online it's going to look good. The pictures always look so tempting, but when it arrives, it is not quite what one expects. And of course, I'm referring to my new purple velvet jacket, which looked so amazing in the Chinese photographs. And actually, it doesn't look too bad on camera, but I have to say, as velvet purple jackets go, I suppose it's not bad for $36 or whatever it was, but there we go. Somebody's saying the sound is low. Let me just see if I can adjust it. How is this? Is this a better volume? Is that a better volume? Hopefully that is. What can I say? Yeah, you want to see the jacket? There we go. There it is. This is what you get. This is what happens when you order cheap. You get tempted by the internet. The internet is such a temptation. I don't know if any of you have, got what I call it the dangerous mouse finger. The buttons do look a bit wonky. But there we go. What can I say? It has been a very, very interesting week, but we are here. At Camelot Castle, what we're interested in doing here is we really, really believe in free speech. Not because we're interested in all the different strange theories that people have. It's because it's only by hearing everything that you can really get to the truth. And what we believe here is that, it's very important to share all possible viewpoints, all possible ideas, providing, of course, they're not anything illegal. That, of course, we're not interested in any way. But there we go. Yes, this is from China, and I have to say it is my guilty pleasure. I have bought so much junk, and it just looks so amazing. It looks so amazing online, and they offer it so cheaply. And whether it's radio-controlled helicopters or a purple velvet jacket, what can I say? But actually, now I think about it, if you just see it up close, you'd realise what a piece of complete cheap shite it is. But actually, other than this wonky button at the top, which isn't too bad, what can I say? It's got a sort of an ambidextrous quality, and perhaps I'll just use it for broadcasts. If only to illustrate the point. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. You see, this is, there we go. There we go. So, now, what can I tell you? There's been all sorts of conflicting data, but last night we heard from the President, and I am just going to play that for you because I think it's important that we all listen to it and listen to what he's got to say, because I think it's so important. Now, here we go. I'm just going to get this up on the screen. And here is our President.
My fellow Americans, to you tonight about the past week. As I have...
It's cutting out.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about of the past week. As I have said, the incursion of the U.S. Capitol struck at the very heart of our republic. It angered and appalled millions of Americans across the political spectrum. I want to be very clear. I unequivocally violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism, no place in our country and no place in our movement. Making America great again has always been about defending the rule of law, supporting the men and women of law enforcement, and upholding our nation's most sacred traditions and values. Mob violence goes against everything and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag. No true supporter of mine could ever threaten or harass their fellow Americans. If you do any of these things, you are not supporting our movement, you are attacking it, and you are attacking our country. We cannot tolerate it. Tragically, over the course of the past year, made so difficult because of COVID-19, political violence spiral out of control. We have too many acts of and destruction. Stop. Whether you are on the right or a Democrat or a Republican, there is never a justification for violence. No exception. America is a nation. Those who engaged in the attacks last week, now I am asking everyone who has ever believed in our agenda to be thinking of ways to ease tensions, calm tensions, help to promote peace in our country. There has been reporting that additional demonstrations are being planned in the coming days, both here in Washington and across the country. I have been briefed by the Secret Service the potential threats. Every American deserves to have their voice heard in a peaceful way. Amendment right. But I cannot emphasize that there must be no violence, no law breaking, of any kind. Everyone does and obey the instructions of law enforcement. Agencies to use all necessary to maintain. Washington, D.C., we are bringing in thousands of National Guard members to secure the city and ensure that a transition can occur safely and without incident. Like all of you, I was saddened by the calamity at the Capitol last week. The hundreds of millions of who have responded to this moderation and grace. Get through this challenge. I also want to words about the unprecedented on free speech in recent days. These are tense and difficult times. The efforts to censor, cancel, and blacklist are wrong, and what is needed now is for us to listen to one another, not to silence one another. All of us can choose by our actions to rise and find common ground and shared purpose. We must focus on advancing the interests of the whole nation, delivering the miracle vaccines, defeating the pandemic, rebuilding, protecting our neck, and upholding the rule. Today I am calling on all Americans to overcome the passions moment and join together as one American people. Let us choose to move forward for the good of our families, our community, country. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Now, I do sincerely apologise for the connection. It appears that our internet pipes here in Tintagel are also under assault. You will find that full speech, and I suggest you watch it again very carefully if you subscribe to Camelot TV Network on Telegram. We posted it there, and I'll repost it after this show. Now, of course, as I can see from your comments, we have all different types of people that follow Camelot Castle TV Network, and I very rarely give my opinion on what is going to happen. But I do think that there is something that is going on at the moment within the Twitter sphere, within the social media sphere, and on various different internet channels. And it's something that is going on that I would like to speak to and I would like to talk about, because I think it is to not address this is actually going to be helpful. Caroline Stevens says that jacket looks ridiculous. Yes, this jacket is an example of what happens when you believe everything that you see on the internet. This jacket was advertised on Instagram and on Facebook, and it kept coming up in my feed, and the photograph looked absolutely marvellous. But when it arrived, it turns out that it was actually a piece of Chinese schlock, for want of a better word. Now, it actually doesn't look bad on camera, but when you open it up, it's actually lined with nylon, and it sort of fits quite snugly, but it is the most disastrous tailoring or sartorial form of expression that I have ever encountered. And if my London tailor were to ever catch me wearing this, he would never build a suit for me again. But what can I say? This is the price of believing everything. I should have known the giveaway was the $35.50 that it was being offered for, with free shipping. So that was the tell, of course. But I couldn't resist it. What can I say? But there we go. Look at that. It's colourful anyway. It's colourful, and my son Caspian likes the colour purple, so he's happy and he likes it. It looks shagadelic, baby. Yeah, it does really look quite shagalicious, I should say. Now, on a serious subject, because these are serious times, I like to kind of try and keep it a little bit light. But on a serious note, I'm going to give you my opinion as to what has happened and what is going to occur over the coming days. I think we're going to see a smooth transition from a Trump administration to a Biden administration. That's what I think is going to happen. And the reason that is going to happen is that there has been a very effective deep state pylon, as we call it, or a coordinated attack by all the various different elements of the deep state. And these elements were very, very effective. And in simple terms, they won. And all the combined efforts of all the Trump supporters and of President Trump himself on this occasion was insufficient to win. Now, there are all sorts of theories being bandied around the internet about all sorts of other theories. And whereas I am not against censoring any of those ideas, and I think people should be free to look at whatever they want to look at, I'm giving you my opinion because I do not think it is right to give decent people false hope. There's nothing wrong with giving people hope when there is something to be hopeful for. But for those of you that are of the opinion that President Trump is just about to pull something out of the bag and everything will be all right on the night type of an idea, anything that sort of circulates in relation to that sort of thing, that is not my opinion. And I say that as somebody who has followed everything, is aware of all the various different freedom movements worldwide, and I have learned to recognize suppression and evil when I see it. And I'm not even sitting here denying that the world has been suppressed and that thousands and thousands of beings in it have been suppressed at the same time. They most certainly have. But this is a question of one can lose a battle, but one must win the war. And the war against evil is not something that is held on one election outcome. The war against evil is an eternal battle, and it's a battle that we fully intend to win. But there is a time to be completely honest with you, and having seen all the various different developments that have occurred in Washington, having spoken to our friends in Washington, D.C., at the very highest levels, and having seen what all of you are communicating, I genuinely felt that this evening it is the time to say, let us plan for the future. Let us ignore the losses and make the wins firm. Now, there are many of you out there who perhaps don't agree with this. Well, time will tell. I am purely giving you my opinion, and I apologize if this is something that you don't want to hear. What I think we need to do is we need to really, truthfully take a look at all the very, very positive things that President Trump achieved while he was in office and while he was still in office. I think it's so important to validate all the good things that have come out of the 4 years that he has been in the White House and the ripple effect. I mean, imagine if for the last 4 years Hillary Clinton had been in office. And I was speaking last night to a very good friend of mine. I was speaking to a very good friend of mine in America yesterday. And she's one of the great early pioneers. She supported Trump at the very beginning. She said, John, please tell me that there is something that is going to happen, because my whole team, everybody that is around me. And I had to say to her, because she's an elderly lady, and I just don't think it's fair or right to give false hope. So I'm quite willing to be wrong about this, but I just felt for all of our friends out there, that is what I wanted to share with you this evening. I would far rather be giving you different news. It's not the news I want to give you, but I also feel that now is the time that we have to prepare for a Biden administration. We have to start to consider what that is going to look like. And we have to start to consider what we, as freedom fighters, are going to be doing in order to prevent the worst excesses of communist philosophy from gaining territory that they otherwise shouldn't. And that is why I would counsel you in the direction of common sense, and I would counsel you in the direction of being very calm. You see now, okay, I'm just going to take this up. There's a lot of comments coming in here, and I'm just going to take this one up. I can see there's a lot of you that don't agree with me, and I'm not trying to avoid your comments. I'm just going to take this one up. John, I don't know why you want to pick the lower vibe. You need to have some folks on who can help you understand energy, frequency, vibration, which is God. It is universal intelligence. It is all good. You know, I don't think that communicating what I consider to be the truth and what I consider to be the actual outcome that is going to occur. You see, there are many, many people that I see on my feed here that genuinely think that come the 21st of January, Donald Trump will still be the President of the United States. And if I was to, from what I know and from what I've seen, to encourage you with that perspective, I don't believe that that would be an act of friendship. I think that one of the things that, I'm here to do is to gather up all the information that I have, to take a look at all the different people that I see communicating, and deliver to you an insight that I see. Now, as many of you know, on this television channel, we have entertained and have spoken with an extraordinary number of guests who have expressed a completely diverse state of mind, point of view. We are willing to listen to everybody and anybody. But at the end of the day, what is important is the truth. And my perspective of the truth is at this time, the forces of evil caused President Trump to lose the election. Now, whether that was fair or whether that was unfair, you have your own opinion on that. I have my own opinion on that. Most of America has its own opinion on that. That's not what the subject of this is about. The subject of this is about how is the future going to look. And what I would ask each and every one of you to do is to prepare to wake up on January the 21st, which, sad to say, is my birthday. So this is not going to be the favourite birthday of mine. Last year I had a fabulous birthday because President Trump announced the trillion tree global reforestation program, which we had helped lobby for 4 years. So I had a fabulous birthday last year. This year I expect to wake up to a Biden presidency, to a socialist government in the United States, which is backed by communist forces. This is not the best birthday present. This is not something, I want to make it very, very clear, this is the last thing on earth that I would wish for the America that I love. But it is important that those of you out there that are, there is nobody in this country, other than perhaps Nigel Farage, who has worked harder to support President Trump. And in many ways, we may have even gone a step further than some people. And we adore President Trump. We adore his family. We have made friends with his team. These are people that we care for deeply. And there is nothing to have this conversation with you, to express this view, is the last thing that I would want to say to any of you. But you know, the truth is important to me. And it is also getting to the point where spreading false hope can actually put a society into danger. So that's not something that I'm interested to do. And we saw the president's message there. He has made it exceptionally clear what his position is on violence. So that is one of the things that I wanted to say to you today. And it's important to me that each and every one of you think for yourselves. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm just stating my position and where we sit. And I would ask those people on the internet that are communicating other possibilities to consider the potential damage that they are doing to others in promoting an idea that has no basis in fact and is purely a speculation. Now, that's what I wanted to say. I can see that, Sarah Gadai says, I do hope that you are wrong. Who wants to live under Biden? Complete tyranny. I hope I'm wrong too. But I genuinely, I thought long and hard before having this conversation with you. And, I just think it's important for me to say what I think is true. And, people refer to the word hopium, In a hopeless world, people reach for straws, and they do reach for hope. And there are a number of theories out there that are being pushed on the general public that are purely designed to generate clicks on the internet. And of course, what you have to realize is some of these channels are monetized, or people are making money in different ways. Now, listen, I'd be the first to admit that, we sell hotel rooms at Camelot Castle, and Ted sells the odd painting, and we are in the hotel business, and we sell the odd treacle tart, but we're very open about that. We also have just launched a company that has the goal of reforesting the planet, and that's fantastic, and we're delighted about that. But on the internet, it is important to realize that ideas that glitter aren't always gold. Purple jackets that look absolutely fantastic on the internet don't always look so good when they turn up in the post in a plastic bag and are lined with nylon. But I do really think that I need to communicate this with you. Now here we go. John has proved buying his shabby jacket. Now he's proving shabby opinion. Well, Nicole, I don't quite know what that means, but probably that you don't agree with me. I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. I'm just giving my opinion as to what is occurring. Tonray says, you're very honest, John, but is also disappointed. I am very disappointed. My wife, Irina, was crying last night. And she looked at me, she said, John, I just cannot believe that evil has won again on this planet. She said, what type of planet is this that we are on? Where the good guys don't win. She said, this isn't how it is in the movies, is it? I said, no, it's not how it is in the movies. The truth is, though, good does eventually win. Good does eventually win, but it doesn't always win within the time frame that we want it to win. And also what I would say is one has to really estimate the power of the enemy correctly, and you have to estimate the amount of effort. You have to estimate the amount of effort needed to vanquish evil, and you have to understand. Bill Wagner says, and the truth is we are screwed with Biden. OMFG, which I don't quite know what that means, but I think it's not entirely complimentary. Bill, I'm afraid that is the truth, and it's time to confront the truth. Amanda Jane Eliash says, I am desolate. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Nicole Rochester says, your opinion doesn't mean your opinion is truth. No, it doesn't. Doesn't mean, this is purely my opinion. But what I'm not going to do, now somebody says here, the whole letter that cannot be named thing has been utter bollocks. Well, it's been a phenomena. It's been a phenomena. We became interested in the letter that shall not be named because it has become a very interesting phenomena. And as with all parts of the freedom movement, it's a thing. You have to evaluate it for yourself. So, Bill Wagner says, prepare for communism. Well, with the censoring of Twitter, we already have communism. Andrew Southall says, good call, John. This video is made in very good faith, can only work with information available. It would be nice if something happened for Trump to turn this around, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. That's really what I'm saying, Andrew. That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you very much. Amanda says the reset is communism. Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. Ken Ferrara says they may have a virtual inauguration, but it won't be legal as we are under martial law and he is a criminal communist agent. But there are awesome alternatives either way. Well, Ken, we're very old friends. Ken Ferrara is somebody who has helped me tremendously. I think, Ken, it's very, very important, in any game, in any battle, in any challenge, one needs to know when one has won, and one needs to know when the game is over and when it's time to create a new game. And this is my opinion. Now, nobody would be more delighted if I was wrong. But what I am seeing all over the world is decent people who have hoped and who have prayed and who have cherished the idea of another 4 years of Trump, buying into ideas and concepts that frankly are not founded on anything factual. And I've had the time, and I'm sufficiently a nerd to have looked down these various different avenues, and if there was any merit there, I would be the first to tell you. Now, I am going to share something with you, and this is something that's occurred over the last couple of days. This Sunday, it is quite likely that there will be a personal attack on myself and on my family by the Sunday Times, who contacted me with the following questions, and I will read them to you because I think it's very important to be open about this. A fellow called Tom approached me, and And he said to me, this refers to the letter that cannot be named. He said, "What is your relationship to the letter who cannot be named and their followers in the UK? Do I work to spread the theories of the letter that cannot be named in the UK? Why did I choose to hoist a flag with the letter that cannot be named above Camelot Castle? What was your response to the storming of the capital last week? What is your background?" And he wanted to send a photographer here for an interview. So on the one hand, I thought, well, ignore, that. But I realized that they are going to produce a hatchet job on our efforts to inform people as to the positive qualities of the president. And so I did reply to him, and I wrote him a letter which I've given him permission to publish in full, but we have retained copyright on the letter. I have written. Well, thank you so much, Jane. Sorry to hear that, John and Irina. That is awful. You are genuine people. Thank you so much. What I would like each of you to do, if you haven't got one, open a Twitter account. I have actually posted this letter up on Twitter, and I have posted this letter up on, I'm going to show it to you here. Here it is. It's on our Camelot Castle letterhead. And I thought I'd better reply to him simply on principle. I know he's going to take these words and twist them to hell. But, we are a great believer in we stand by President Trump. We have supported President Trump, and we have supported his wife, Melania, and we've supported his children. And we have done whatever we can to help Trump win. And, just because somebody loses an election is no reason for me to cancel my support for them in any way. In fact, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be increasing our support for the president. But I thought I would read you this letter, which is dated the 13th of January 2021. And this is really in answer to his question. He then said, am I happy to have a conversation? Can he send a photographer and a reporter to Camelot on Thursday? And so on and so forth. So I decided to write a letter to him, and I'm going to read that to you now if you're interested. And what I would really like you to do is to share this letter in every single group. So this is what I wrote in reply to his questions. I mean, clearly what he is trying to suggest is that we are, I don't quite know what he's trying to suggest. We'll find out on Sunday. But I wrote this letter and I have forwarded it to him. And here we go. Dear Tom, I am an anthropological analyst, which is essentially anthropology as a study of culture, a student of cultures and a journalist. I have a very deep, well-researched and comprehensive understanding of American culture. This helps us to predict outcomes. In June 2015, within a few moments of then-candidate Donald Trump coming down the escalator at Trump Tower, we predicted that he would win both the primary selection of Republican candidate and the presidential election in November 2016. We started to note increasing suppression of free speech of candidate Trump by the mainstream media from June 2015. This suppression of free speech, of the personal sovereignty of the individual, and of freedom of thought by the media, was starting to show harmonics and all the hallmarks of the rises of previous authoritarian regimes in history. Such suppression of free speech never ends well. My wife grew up in the USSR, and our family survived the Holocaust. So we are well aware of the early signs of the suppression of freedom. The rise of the freedom movement and its parts to which you refer. I'll give you that again. The rise of the freedom movement and its parts to which you refer was always an inevitable consequence of the suppression of free speech by journalists, media, big tech, and of entrenched, harmful government socialist practices, which are in part the result of the global expansion of communism. We noticed that the freedom movement in the USA was rising, and that the tolerance for the suppression of free speech was increasing within international media. Journalists that previously, in earlier times, would have been champions for free speech started to participate in its suppression. One could observe that the rise of the freedom movement in the USA was almost an inevitable consequence of that suppression. On October the 6th, 2018, we were invited to attend the Senate vote in D.C. for the Kavanaugh hearing. During Justice Kavanaugh's elevation to the Supreme Court, a worrying number of senators had been willing to discard due process, presumption of innocence, and equal justice for all. These are democratic underpinnings that have been upheld by Western culture since the time of Emperor Justinian, and they could have easily been dispensed with forever, purely on partisan grounds. This was an alarming sign that the suppression of mankind's freedom had advanced far beyond what we witnessed in 2015-2016. That evening, and on other occasions, we were briefed by senior US officials as to the degree of the suppression of free speech that was occurring in America and worldwide. They explained the various elements and parts of the freedom movement in the USA to us, and so we gained considerable insight. We raised a flag above Camelot Castle on New Year's Day 2020 to highlight emerging freedom-related phenomena that we predicted would become part of the narrative. We knew the degree to which free speech would be suppressed by media and big tech in the coming months. It was our hope that other journalists and media would look into these phenomena and how the suppression of free speech was already precipitating harmful consequences. There were those in opposition to the president, not just in the USA, who opposed his goals of freedom, peace, and prosperity. Their goal was to remove President Trump at all costs. We knew that the suppression of free speech by media would be one of the tools and mechanisms that would be used to do so. Camelot Castle has always been a champion of free speech and of freedom. We believe that free speech underpins democracy. We have all witnessed its consequences in life and in history. We stated in August 2019 that in the year 2020 we would witness things that we as mankind had never witnessed in our lifetimes. Such was the desire by some elements in the USA and internationally to remove President Trump. That prediction has certainly turned out to be true. With regards to the event in D.C. on 6th of January this year, I have nothing to add to the words of the President and the First Lady, other than to say that any suggestion that President Trump is not a peacemaker whose goal is peace and prosperity for all American people, and indeed the people of the world, is simply part of the extreme suppression that we are all witnessing of a thoroughly decent president who is a person of goodwill. Such people are acting in concert with those who wish to suppress mankind and deny mankind his or her sovereign impulse. We have great faith in mankind's ability to see through the suppression of free speech, and we actually have great faith in the fundamental decency of journalists, although at this time many are compromised editorially and are assisting in the suppression of free speech. I would urge you to look past the predictable but false narratives that we are all being spoon-fed and gain an insight into the extraordinary and indeed divinely blessed and inspired decency of President Trump and the First Lady. But, more importantly, look into the souls of the... Excuse me. I would urge you to look past the predictable but false narratives that we are all being spoon-fed and gain an insight into the extraordinary and indeed divinely blessed and inspired decency of President Trump and the First Lady. But more importantly, look into the souls of the many hundreds of millions of ordinary, decent, good people in the USA and internationally who support the President and his purposes of freedom, peace, and prosperity. The goals and purposes of freedom, peace, and prosperity are the ideals that we as a family promote. In so doing, you may find a reflection of your own decency and goodness, and you might help to restore integrity and free speech, which holds the key to a free press, a free nation, and a free world. Thank you for being in touch. Kind regards, John and Irina Mappin. Now, I'd be very surprised if the Sunday Times has the integrity to print that letter in its entirety. What I suspect they will do is take snippets from it, although I have not given them permission to do so. What I really would appreciate it is I have put a copy of that letter up onto my Facebook page, and I've also put a copy onto it on Twitter, and I would seriously appreciate it if each and every one of you would just take the time to share that within all groups. I do suspect that the Sunday Times are going to be doing a hatchet job, or an attack piece as they're called. I'm sure it will be dull as ditch water, because the true story about why ordinary people support President Trump is far, far more interesting than any bullshit that they are inclined to make up. So the Sunday Times, of course, will come and it will go, but we, as freedom fighters, will all be here. And I just wanted to use this occasion to thank you so much. You know, something did not feel right to me on the night of the election. And I have been willing to look at all possible ways that an alternative future could be created for America. But in truth, we must take responsibility for the fact that we underestimated, the good guys underestimated the degree to which the evil ones have worked in concert. Now, it is my birthday on the 21st, and Facebook puts up a little donation thing, and this year I chose CCHR, the Citizens Commission of Human Rights, because this is a group that does everything that they possibly can to destroy and to bring psychiatry back under the law. It's an interesting fact, and this may not be real to everybody, but behind every act of evil, if you do a close inspection and a close investigation, you will find a psychiatrist. And behind this plan to take down President Trump, you will find a psychiatrist or two have been very, very hard at work. Studying the history of psychiatry is a very, very important thing. And one of the things that CCHR does is that they have created an online museum where you can actually study the history of psychiatry, certainly back the last few centuries. It turns out that the history of psychiatry goes back a lot further than that, but their true history isn't entirely real to everybody. But do take a look at what psychiatry is doing and psychiatry's relationship to, to life. Yeah, well, somebody said that's not a good day to have a birthday this year. No, it's not a good day. It's the beginning of the Biden socialist, let's say, or communist, realistically, regime. And what I would like each of us to do, rather than spending the next few days thinking that something is going to happen and Trump will be somehow inaugurated on the 21st, get busy preparing and plan, your next move, So, this is my counsel to you. And normally I wouldn't give you my opinion. Normally I listen to other people's opinions and I'm very glad to entertain other people's opinions. And I've been listening solidly. I've been observing solidly. I've been using my own points of reference, my own connections, my own understanding. And, just because evil triumphs temporarily does not mean to say that the ultimate win will not be better. So prepare yourself mentally. Do not in any way resort to any type of protest or violent activity or think that that is the solution. The solution is to improve our intelligence, to realize what it is that we're up against, to get a measure of the enemy, to understand that this is a war of philosophy rather than anything else. And, when you have individuals who own the principal media networks on the planet, subscribing to a philosophy that allows them to kill freedom in America and kill free speech, it is so important. So the good news is, think about how many people in the last 12 months have woken up. Think about how many people will never go back to sleep again. These people, these friends, are all of us resources. So I think it's important to understand, and if I can, for those of you that have just joined, you can, by all means, and I would love to be wrong about this, but I'm giving you my opinion, is on the 21st of January, Biden will be the president. And, of course, this is tremendously upsetting, but this is, in the overall scheme of things, a minor skirmish in eternity. The most important thing is that we continue to stay positive. we continue to stay strong. We do not allow the hatred of the left to in any way blunt the divine love with which God has blessed you. So, my prayers to you all. Stay positive. On the 21st of January, we are going to have a great day because it happens to be my birthday. And let's just prepare. And let's be realistic. And please, if you see anybody online attempting to give others false hope based on ideas that really have no basis in fact, I'm not saying criticize them. Just have them inspect the sanity of doing that, because it's not going to help the decent people. You know, the elderly lady that I spoke to last night lives in Florida, one of the most loyal Trump supporters. She has gotten so confused by some of the ideas floating around the internet. And when we spoke, she knows me and she knows I've got no reason at all. She was in tears. She was saying, John, but how about this and how about that? I said, listen, think it through. You know, this is a situation where the deep state, from literally Christmas 2016, got together and planned for 4 years how they were going to prevent 8 years of Trump. So it is important that you do not add, do not be forwarding data that you have not personally inspected to be true at this time. So as much as we appreciate that this is a gross injustice against the president, I should point out something that is quite positive, though. In the last 4 days, especially since this impeachment, Trump has become stronger than ever. In fact, his approval ratings are up. And of course, in the modern society, Trump has just drawn the ultimate Trump card, which is he is now a victim. And in modern society, people fight with each other to become a victim. And he is now a victim of injustice. His power, this is his Obi-Wan Kenobi moment. You strike me down and I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. You remember that scene from Star Wars when he's fighting Darth Vader. President Trump is now the kingmaker of the conservative movement. If he wants to create a new party, he can create a new party. If he wants to create a new media network, he can create a new media network. He is awesomely powerful. Power, in Mr. Trump's case, never was limited to the fact that he's a president. Power comes from your friends. Power comes from the people. And the people that love Trump don't love him less as a result of what happens. They love him more. And despite the fact that Twitter has censored him, Twitter's stock is falling. I would give Twitter 12 months. Vast amounts of money are being poured into platforms like Gab, into platforms like Parler. And even if those two platforms do not survive, a new platform will emerge from this time, and that platform will not be censoring. It will allow freedom of thought. The thing is about immortal spirits is you can suppress a spirit temporarily. You can hang somebody, you can burn them to death, you can, hung, draw and quarter them. These are popular things in England. We do that in England sometimes. Not for a bit, we haven't done it. Hung, drawn and quartered. But you can't suppress the spirit. And each of us, in our own right, is a brave heart. In our own right, we are freedom fighters. So, just be a little patient. Work with reality. I have a challenge to all of you. Work with the data that you are absolutely certain on. Don't speculate in these times. I'm not even asking you necessarily to agree with my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion based on all the data that I have seen. Stay calm. Look after those that you love. Make sure you'll get well rested. Make sure you eat well. Take your vitamins. Eat your vegetables. Take a walk. Enjoy your dogs, your cats. Get a new dog, a new cat. We're looking for a new puppy. Take the time to invest in yourself. Read something that perhaps is not related to politics. Find a nice book of poetry. I ordered a copy of Wordsworth poet. I realised I'd never read William Wordsworth. So I have a book of his poetry up in the library. I've had it there for 3 weeks and I'm now going to dip into it. One of the greatest English poets ever. And I love poetry and I never even read him. Somehow it passed me by at school and I've never read him. Well, I'm sure there's poets out there that you haven't read. And, or maybe there's an old movie out there that you've never watched. Well, get into doing things like this. Take stock and prepare and retrench and re-strategize. America is surprisingly resilient, and freedom is surprisingly resilient. And pendulums swing this way, and pendulums swing back the other way. So those are my thoughts this evening. I do apologize if you don't agree with me. But there we go. Those are my thoughts. And let us stay in communication. So if you subscribe to the, what is it called? Telegram. And if you go to Camelot Castle, Sharon Gillibrand, I think John knows what coming. He's trying to warn us. I'm just telling you my opinion based on everything that I know. And I do spend a long time researching in this area. And, there's no odd theory on the internet or theory on the internet. We don't even have to call them odd theories. But there is nothing on this subject that I haven't either been sent by one of you or read or taken a look at. And I understand it all. From the most outlandish theories to the most evil theories, I've read it all. And I'm giving you what I consider to be the truth. And, reason, the ability to reason, the ability to communicate the truth, I'm of no value to whatsoever if all I'm trying to do is generate clicks on the internet. It's a silly game, and I'm not playing it. The only game I'm interested in is helping to rapidly export the truth. This is why I talk to you about Scientology. This is why I talk to you about Dianetics. And by the way, if anybody out there is feeling at all depressed, read Dianetics. It is a fantastic, fantastic book. There's also another book which I recommended to a friend of mine today, and it's called the Scientology Ethics Book. And it teaches you the laws of ethics and the laws of justice. And these are, it's probably the most useful Scientology book I've ever read. I use it more than any other book. And you can actually find it at Bridge Publications. You can order it online. And there's one particular essay in that book. It's called The Responsibilities of Leaders. The Responsibilities of Leaders. Maybe somebody could put a link up to the Scientology Ethics book. It's at Bridge Publications, or in Europe you can order it from New Era Publications. I sent it to a friend of mine today, but I don't have the link. So that's what's going on. And I think it's very important that what I do is I communicate the truth to you. I want you to, it's called An Introduction to Scientology Ethics. Oh, thank you so much, Mark. There it is. Order that book. That book, I've put it on the screen there. It's called An Introduction to Scientology Ethics. You will find that book to be really, really useful. And if you do run into anybody on the internet that is suggesting in any way, shape or form that somebody other than Joe Biden is going to be inaugurated as president, please refer them to this video and suggest that they inspect their own responsibility when it comes to spreading false hope based on false data or incorrect information. I'm not saying we've lost the war. I'm saying that evil won this particular battle. And I can assure you that is the last thing that I want to say to you. But I'm saying it, and I've said it for a reason. And those of you that know me well enough know that I would not have said it if I didn't have a reason. So thank you so much. There we go. And actually, the truth of the matter is, we've had tremendous victories out of this last 4 years, and those victories will resonate for the next 4 years in the Middle East. The global reforestation, the trillion trees. I mean, President Trump has increased the tree cover of planet Earth by 25%. So, thank you so much. Anne Elizabeth, thank you. I believe you, John. I'm not asking people to believe me. I'm just telling you what I've seen, what I've observed. And what is the point of us doing this TV channel? I'm not here to spread delusion. I'm only interested in the truth. And it's the truth that will free us. Because think of it, if the enemy has won this particular battle, this particular game, elections are games. It's a game. It's got freedoms, it's got barriers, it's got purposes. Might as well acknowledge it and move on to the next game. And the next game is, how do we retake the territory that we've lost? How do we continue to accelerate the number of minds? We're not going to be waking people up by lying to them or presenting false hope. What will happen is that anybody who was thinking about waking up will just look at us. They'll go, these guys are bonkers. That doesn't help anybody. So, life responds to rationality. It responds to wisdom. It responds to common sense. It responds to decency. And life's a good game. And let's see what we can do to play it a little bit better. Lovely to see you, and we will see you soon. I'm glad you like my purple jacket. It's growing on me. I quite like it. My son likes it, but really I wore it tonight to teach myself a lesson. Not to believe everything I see on the internet, because I saw this advertised. I mean, the giveaway, really, I should have known, £35 or $35, I think it was, free shipping. But it just did look fabulous on the model that was modelling it. Of course, I don't quite have his figure, so the buttons are popping a bit. But I'm on a diet. My wife's got me on a diet. And anyway, if this purple jacket teaches you anything, is not everything on the internet is as it seems. Anyway, good evening to you all, and we will speak to you soon.